All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into some of the strangest corners of history. We're talking about a time when reality was, frankly, stranger than fiction. A world where collective belief could make green-skinned children just appear and where popes could literally put a corpse on trial. Yeah, let's get into it.
So let's start by just setting the scene. We're going back to an era where what people believed to be true was so incredibly powerful, it could actually shape their world. It made things that seem impossible to us feel completely and totally normal to them.
Okay, our first stop is the medieval world. This was a time that was really governed by a sense of magic and mystery, which led to some truly strange and very deeply held certainties.
I want you to just try and picture this for a second. You're living your life in this quiet little English village, and then one day, out of a wolf pit of all places, two children just emerge. And not only are they speaking a language that nobody understands, but their skin is distinctly, undeniably green. You can see why this mystery has captivated people for hundreds of years. I mean, the story of their arrival, the sad aftermath for one of them, and this enduring question mark, it all reads like a fairy tale. But here's the kicker. It was recorded as a true event, which just completely blurs that line between what was real and what was myth. So let's say you were accused of a crime back then. How did you prove your innocence? Well, a lot of the time, it had nothing to do with evidence or witnesses. Nope, it was about pure survival. You might have to, say, carry a red-hot bar of iron or plunge your arm into boiling water. And this is where it gets really mind-bending, right? If your hand healed without infection, you were innocent. It raises this incredible question about the power of belief. Did they genuinely think God would perform a little miracle to save you? Was it some kind of psychological test? You have to wonder what invisible forces they believed were shaping not just their laws, but reality itself. You know, even in the most serious, most sacred jobs, like monks painstakingly copying holy books, we find these little bursts of absolute whimsy and humanity. Rabbits jousting with snails, dogs playing bagpipes. These weren't just random doodles. There were these little windows into the medieval imagination, and they are fantastic. What a fascinating, almost poetic idea. The design of a samurai's helmet, it wasn't just about protecting them on the battlefield. For some, it was a piece of spiritual engineering. It was built on the belief that at the very moment of death, the soul needed a clear pathway out. Okay, so we've looked at these widespread collective beliefs, but now let's shift gears. We're going to zoom in on the truly bizarre actions of specific, powerful people. This is where things get personal, and believe me, even stranger. And right on cue, this is where things get really, really weird. This is the start of one of history's most macabre and frankly just absurd events. It's famously known as the Cadaver Synod. You heard that correctly. A sitting pope had the 9-month-old corpse of the previous pope dug up, dressed in full papal gear, and then propped up on a throne in the courtroom to be formally charged with crimes. They even assigned a deacon to speak for the dead guy. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
So, big surprise, the silent, rotting corpse was found guilty. The Pope then had the 3 fingers he used for blessing cut off, stripped the body of its holy robes, and had it tossed into the Tiber River. This wasn't just some bizarre act of revenge. It was a cold, brutal political statement, an attempt to literally erase his rival's entire legacy from history. Just a wild display of spiteful power.
Thousands. What are we talking about here? Rabbits. Thousands of rabbits gathered by Napoleon Bonaparte, the legendary military strategist, for a big celebratory hunt. He was at the peak of his power and he wanted to put on a show. But here's the thing. These weren't wild rabbits. They'd been raised on a farm, and they basically saw Napoleon as the guy who brings the food. So instead of running away, this huge horde of bunnies charged the Emperor of France. He had to beat a chaotic retreat back to his carriage, literally defeated by a bunny uprising. It seems that even a presidential funeral isn't safe from absurdity. And maybe, just maybe, it was a little reflection of Andrew Jackson's own colorful personality. In the middle of the Reverend's eulogy, the president's pet parrot, Pole, started swearing so loudly and so creatively that he had to be escorted out of the service. All right, for this next part, we're going under the floorboards, so to speak. We're going to look at the secrets and the private lives that show us that these larger-than-life historical figures were, in the end, just people. dealing with some very strange situations.
1,000. That's about how many human bones were found buried in the basement of Benjamin Franklin's London home, long after he'd moved out. I mean, can you imagine that discovery? For a founding father of America, it's absolutely shocking.
Okay, so the reality is less sinister, but it's no less fascinating. Franklin wasn't a secret murderer. The bones belonged to an illegal underground anatomy school that was being run by his tenant. It just reveals this hidden world of scientific discovery that was happening right under a founding father's nose, back when studying the human body could get you into serious trouble.
Oh, this is a great one. So, a live raccoon was sent to President Calvin Coolidge, and the intention was for it to be, well, Thanksgiving dinner. But the Coolidge family got so attached to her that instead of eating her, they adopted her, gave her a collar, and just let her wander around the White House as a beloved presidential pet. You know, this just goes to show you that even the most famous and constrained figures need a moment to escape. Before he was Pope John Paul II, Cardinal Corral Wojtyla used to secretly sneak out of the Vatican. Why? To go skiing. He'd trade his holy robes for a ski jacket just to be a regular guy on a mountain for a few hours. Ultimately, when you strip away all the titles and the power and the absurdity, what do you find? You just find people. People who doodled in books, who loved their pets, and who, sometimes, were hilariously defeated by rabbits. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What strange stories will our own time leave behind for future explainers to puzzle over?